Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to USEFP's virtual workshop on verbal. I hope everyone is taking good care of themselves as we collectively deal with this global pandemic. USEFP have adjusted the nature of their services and have moved sessions online. Since USEFP cannot hold sessions in person anymore due to the health advisory, you can use this time productively and take benefits of these workshops and information sessions. My name is Dr. Ali Hussain Kazim. I have a PhD in mechanical engineering from Georgia Institute of Technology. My specializations are heat transfer and energy conversion. I'm a Fulbright alumni. I'm director of Heat Transfer Lab. I'm a focal person for international scholarships at UET. I'm assistant professor at UET Lahore. Welcome to Verbal Workshop. The Verbal Workshop would be, we will first go through the contents of the verbal section. Then the most important part, how to build vocabulary. What are the different ways of building vocabulary? Then we will go through the reading comprehension, text completion, sentence equivalence sections. Then we would go through what to read and what to do next. So first, the GRE test. It has two analytical writing sections, 30 minutes each. And then there is a verbal reasoning section, having 20 questions, 30 minutes per section. Then quantitative reasoning, having 20 questions, 35 minutes per section. So you get 1.5 minutes in a verbal section to do one question. Then there's an unscored section and a research section. Unscored section, you would not know which of the sections which come extra is an unscored section. So you have to attempt every section of GRE as if it will count towards your score. Some statistics about GRE in 3 years. From 2014 to 2017, around 17 lakh people gave verbal, having a mean score of 150. Quantitative reasoning, 17,30,000 people gave, having a mean score of 152.8. And analytical writing is 3.5. This is the mean score, which means that 50% of the people are above this mean, 50% are below it. So you should have at least try to aim that you go above the mean. So this is the how the scale compares to the percentile. So if you look at the bottom left side, so a 153 score mean that in verbal you have 61 percentile, and in quantitative reasoning you have a 50 percentile. So 153 means that in mathematics you will be better than 50% people, and 61% for verbal. But if you see the score of 151, you would have, in verbal, you would be better than 52% people. So make sure your score is high as possible, but at least ensure that it is above the mean. Then the analytical writing section. So if you score a 3, you're better than 17 percentile. If you score a 3.5, you're better than 41. So the jump from 3 to 3.5 is huge. And if you can, and if you jump from 3 to 4, that is very great. So you can see that the scale of the GRE is not linear. You should know the percentile, and it's easily available. Whenever you do a practice test, you can search on Google that what is my percentile. You can convert your score to percentile. In scoring, the verbal reasoning, it is from 130 to 170, and quantitative reasoning, it's 130 to 170 again, having increments of 1 and from 0 to 6. So 130 is the minimum score that one can get. So the score varies from 130 to 170, and between these 130 to 170 is the percentile which varies between from 130 to 170. Now, coming to the verbal section, this is a split of the questions that come. So approximately, both sections have two verbal sections that each have 20 questions each. So it has 9 reading comprehension, 5 sentence equivalence, and 6 text completion. Now, looking at this pie chart, it is clear that 11 of the 20 questions are test your vocabulary directly. So one major takeaway from this workshop is that the most important thing in verbal is your vocabulary, and building it is very, very important. We would learn ways of how you can build your vocabulary, but understand the importance that 11 out of 20 are directly involved vocabulary. And when it comes to reading comprehension, it again has questions regarding vocabulary, and the passage is structured in a way which have difficult vocab in it. So vocabulary is very important when it comes to verbal. Now, perhaps the most important slide of this presentation, the books. So the official guide to GRE general tests, the first book and the second book. The first two books are from ETS themselves. Try to solve them first. Then is a big book for practice. It has 27 practice tests. No other book has 27 actual practice tests of GRE. So this book is very, very important. This book just got discontinued like 20 years ago, but the comprehension is the same. The English or the math section test the same concepts. It is a very good and the most authentic source of practice. So the way I would like you to do is that you need to do one practice test a day, or maybe half test a day. So keep a dictionary with yourself. So whenever you read a passage, underline the words which you found difficult. Try to get their meaning. So use it as a practice. Use it as a way to build your vocabulary. Then WordSmart. WordSmart is a very good book. It has more than 1,400 words. So memorizing words is very, very important. And 1,400 words looks like a good number to have. If you have 1,400 words, you are prepared well to tackle the questions of GRE. So try to aim for 1,400 words. And WordSmart is a good way to do it. Then a 5-point book by Manhattan has a lot of practice. So, but big book has the more authentic. It has actual ETS paper. So you may use the big book first, go over the passages, try to get all the meanings, try to take it as an exercise that of course those passages that you will do in the test would not be in that big book. However, the vocabulary would be similar. So try to build your vocabulary from big book. And the book number 6, Princeton Review, Cracking the GRE and Balanced GRE, use them as well. So I've listed the books in the degree of which I think of importance. So how to build vocabulary? The best way, or the way to build vocabulary, is to read and read and read over time. So reading over time is the best way. So the vocabulary or the level of comprehension tested is not graduate level. It is maybe undergrad level or a little less than an undergrad level. So it is the vocabulary that has been built over time, which is the most important. That you've been reading you're a reader and you like to read, and then you have built a vocabulary to a certain stage in which you can tackle problems, and GRE would not be a problem for you if you have built vocabulary over time. However, if you have 3 months, 2 months of prep time and you need to boost your vocabulary, then again, the best way to build a vocabulary is to read. And you need to start off with the things that are more interesting to you. So if you like to read about sport, if you like sports, start reading some sports magazine. If you like economy, so start reading The Economist. Try to read a thing which you might like. So if maybe you like a film that you really like, try to find its novel and start reading it. Start with your comfort zone. Start with a thing that can get your interest going into reading. However, there are 5 magazines, 5 websites which are available, which have a good set of reading material. One is The Economist, The Atlantic, Nautilus, the New Yorker, and the ANL Daily. All of this have a lot of good quality reading material. ANN Daily has been referred by many publishers. The reason for it is that it has a collection of some of the best articles. So if you're short on time, you can pick on ANN Daily and start reading one news article a day, one letter a day. And as you read, you need to have a dictionary with you. There is no point of reading if you just keep on skipping the words and you don't take it as an exercise of understanding as well as to make your vocabulary. Now, how do you build your vocabulary? The more time you give to a word, the more time you spend in building it, the better your vocabulary be. You need to make sure that you are able to absorb what you read. So one way to do is to make flashcards. So flashcards have been tried and tested, and it is the most recommended way of how to boost your vocabulary. So get yourself a chart paper, get yourself a lot of chart papers and cut them in small, maybe 3 inch by 2 inch cards, make a lot of them. And on the front of the chart paper, you write the name of the word that you have just read from a big book or from some news article. You write the word, and on the back of it, you mention whether it's a noun, verb, adjective. Then you mention its meaning, and then you use it in a sentence. So this exercise of you getting to the dictionary, locating the word, writing it down, making your own sentence out of it, the effort you're putting in getting one word on a piece of paper, you're giving yourself time to memorize it. And this is the way to memorize it, that you give yourself time with every single word you write. So there'll be, you may have flashcards from WordSmart or from any other publisher that you like, from Barron's. You have this hit list or this group of words that you need to memorize. Make flashcards out of it, but also make flashcards for all the articles or the words you acquire from big book. So this big book is very important, that it would significantly expose you to a lot of words which have been tested by ETS. So make yourself a flashcard, do this effort, it would pay off. Then in WordSmart, if you're using WordSmart to build your vocabulary, they have arranged words in terms of roots and having suffix or prefix. So these roots, which have been derived from Greek, would help you to attain the word meaning, even if you don't know the meaning of the word. more on this in a couple of slides. So first thing that we would tackle would be the reading comprehension question. So reading comprehension. So read a passage and answer 1 to 5 paragraphs. The passage can be from 1 to 5 paragraphs and it can be of various topics. Question times include MCQs, select all that apply, select in passage. So with this select all that apply, you will have to select all the correct options to obtain the marks for that question. So make sure you don't skip after locating one of the correct answer, you skip the other. Don't do that. So these are the directions of the passage. Each passage in this group is followed by a question based on its content. After reading the passage, choose the best answer to each question. Answer all the questions in the passage on the basis of what is stated or implied in the passage. So these are the directions which will come before the start of the passage. So make sure that you know these directions. You don't have to read them in the actual exam. Same goes for the instructions which will come before the start of the GRE exam. Go through them on the online power prep test or inside some book. Don't waste your time in reading directions which you can read beforehand. So format of questions, it might have single answer, multiple answer, or text selection. So passages in each section can vary from 1 to 5 paragraphs. Each passage may have 1 to 5 questions. Focus on vocabulary less than verbal reasoning question. So you need to focus on the vocabulary a lot. So it can have complicated passages. Don't try to absorb the whole passage. So you don't have to absorb the whole passage. You just need to get the gist initially, what is the main idea behind the passage, and you don't have known the details of the passage. So the way to read it is that you once you come to a paragraph, start reading slowly. Try to absorb the first 2 sentences, 3 sentences. Try to pick up the topic sentence. What is it about? But once you get from the first 2 sentences, what is it about? Speed up your reading. And towards the end, make your reading speed more. You can, so initially your reading speed for a certain passage should be slow, in which you're trying to absorb, but as you go on, pick up speed. Because you don't get marks for reading the passage, so make sure that you come to the point of reading the questions quickly. So split screen, you'll have a split screen in which left-hand side would be the passage and right side would be the questions. Make sure that you scroll down the entire passage. So maybe you have to scroll down a lot to read the complete passage. Scroll it down. Don't assume that what you see on the screen is the passage only. So basic approach is that read less and skim more. So initially make your speed fast but slow, and then as you read the passage, pick up the speed. Understand what each question wants you to do. Find and paraphrase the answer. So you have read the passage, now you go to the questions. So once you read the question, think about the answer, what answer should be, even without reading the options. So doing this is very important. So because then you will try to match what is in your head with what is there in front of you. Use process of elimination. So read less and skim more. So what does it mean? That you need to get the main idea of the passage. You need to know the structure and the tone of the passage. So most paragraphs are a problem or a change paragraphs. What does it mean? It means that in most passages, it's either they're stating a problem or they're stating that a certain thing changes. So if it's a problem paragraph, so what the first thing is, what is the problem? You need to tell what is the problem. So while you're reading, if you figure out that this is a problems paragraph, you need to figure out what is the problem, what caused the problem, and what are the effects of the problem, and are there any solutions to the problem. So these are the number of questions that you think while you are reading that passage. So you need to read critically the passage. So if it's a change passage, what was the old way? What is the new way? What caused the change? What are the effects of the change? The questions are similar, but these are important to help you read the paragraph critically. So read this paragraph and see whether it is a problem or a change paragraph. Is there a problem or is there a change in the paragraph? You may pause this video and you can read it slowly if you want to. So prior to 1735, there was a legal precedent for the freedom of the, there was no legal precedent for the freedom of the press. The constitutional concept of freedom of press traces its origin to 1735 and the libel trial of John Peter Zenger. Zenger, born in Germany, emigrated to America in 1710 and established a New York Weekly Journal in 1733. The journal starkly opposed the policies of the New Yorker governor, William Cosby, and while Zenger did not write the majority of the critical pieces, he was arrested on libel charges in 1734. In the ensuing trial, widely followed by the populace, Zenger was defended by Andrew Hamilton, a Pennsylvania lawyer who was brought in after Cosby disbarred all the New Yorker lawyers who offered to defend Zenger. Hamilton's brilliant defense of Zenger was predicated on the argument that since Zenger's criticism was involved in verifiable facts, they could not possibly consider libel. The judge agreed and acquitted the publisher, establishing the basic concept of freedom of press that was to be enshrined in the United States Constitution some 57 years later. So there is a problem in this question, that in this passage, that there was no legal precedent for the freedom of the press. But actually this is a change paragraph in which there was no precedent and then there was a change that Peter Zenger helped make the change for the freedom of the press. This is a change paragraph in which, after reading it, you can ask yourself the questions which I showed in a bit earlier slides, that what needs to be questioned while you are reading it. So, techniques to read the passage. How should you read? So reading comprehension, the good thing is that reading comprehension is an open book test. The correct answer is somewhere in the passage. You are looking at the answer, you have to just find the answer. So there are a number of ways of you reading. The first way, which you might know, is that you read the question first and then you read the passage. So this technique is like you first try to know what is asked and then you try to look for the answers. And the other technique might be that you just start reading everything very carefully and then you come to the questions. So there is There's a third technique, which is that you read just the first question of the passage, and then you come to the passage itself and start reading very closely. Keep first few lines, try to find the main idea of the passage, and then pick up speed and try to skip details. You read the details, but you go over them fast, that and you just just need to ensure that you read enough to know that this is a detail, and you may come back to it later. And the most important thing, even before reading, is that pretend that you like the passage. So if you pretend that you like the passage that you're about to read, is you're giving giving yourself more chance of doing well in that passage. But if you start off saying that, okay, this would be a difficult passage and you would have some difficulty, then that is a negative approach. So start with the positive mindset to read the passage. So because, and I'm coming back to the three approaches I mentioned. The first approach, that you read all the questions first. The chances are, once you read all the questions first and then you start reading the passage, that by the time you'll start reading the passage, you will forget the questions, all the questions you read. So just read the first question and then start reading the passage, keeping in mind the big picture, that what is the main idea, what is the tone, is the tone changing? So and try, and once you see a detail, just read it fast, and thinking that if it would be required to use this detail, you would come back to it later. So this again is a paragraph. So historians have long recognized the traditional Japanese sword, Nihonto, as one of the finest cutting weapons ever produced. But it has even been considered as a spiritual entity. The adage, the sword is the soul of samurai, reflects the sword's psychic importance, not to its wielder, but also to its creator, the master smith. Not classically regarded as artists, Master Smith nevertheless exerted great care in the process of creating swords, no two of which were ever forged exactly the same way. Over hundreds of hours, two types of steel were repeatedly heated, hammered, and folded together into thousands of imperceptible layers, yielding both a razor-sharp, durable edge and a flexible, shocking-absorbing blade. Commonly, though optionally, the smith physically signed the blade. Moreover, each smith's secret forging technique left an idiosyncratic structural signature. Each unique finished product reflected the smith's personal honor and devotion to craft. And today, the Japanese sword is valued as much for its artistic merit as for its historical significance. So coming to the question, one of the most common question is, the primary purpose of the passage is to. So this question is main idea of the passage. What is the primary purpose? Challenge the observation that Japanese sword is highly admired by historians. So this question, there was no tone of challenge in the entire question. So introduce new information about the forging of Japanese sword. Maybe the information is new to us, but there is nothing new in there was nothing in the paragraph saying that this information that they are writing is something new that they've discovered. Identify the Japanese sword as an ephemeral work of art. They argue that the Japanese sword makers were motivated by honor. Explain the value attributed to the Japanese sword. This option number E is what this passage was about, having different attributes, stating different attributes of its importance. It did mention art. But was it the primary purpose of this passage? So no. So the correct option is option number E. Each of the following is mentioned in the passage except. Every Japanese sword has a unique structure that can be traced to its forging. Yes, they said it has a unique structure. Master Smith kept their forging methods secret. So, were they a secret? See, the Japanese sword was considered by some to have a spiritual quality. So, Master Smiths are now considered artists by many. The Japanese sword is considered both a work of art and historical art. So there was no mention of secret in this passage, that the process they kept it to themselves. So the correct answer is B. This question, the author is most likely to agree with which of the following. So this is a common question in which they um, they ask us to write to check the option which the author might like, or he or she might imply. This Japanese sword is the most important handheld weapon in the history. Um, yes, the passage was about the importance of this sword, but was it the most important handheld in the history? So this is an extreme view. Extreme, like it is like comparing it to the entire history, the most important, you're not sure about that. The skill of a samurai, so be wary of opinions which are extreme. The skill of the samurai is what made the Japanese sword so special. Mm. If a sword had a physical signature, other swords could be attributed to sword's creator. Yes, this was mentioned that how physical signature is traced back to the maker, smith. Mastersmiths were more concerned about the artistic merit of their blades. Yes, there was some artistic value of it, but did the mastersmith care about it? That cannot be extrapolated. The Japanese sword has more historical importance than artistic. So this was not compared. So option number C is what um, is the correct option. Which of the following can be inferred about the structural signature in the passage? So structural signature was significantly described. They indicated the inscription that the smith placed on the blade during the forging. Yes, there was mention of the signature. So even if you think that this is the correct option or the next one is, don't skip options, read all of the option. That don't reach, maybe there's a better option which is correct. They imply particular characteristics of a blade created by Smith's unique forging process. They suggest that each blade can be traced back to a known master smith. Yes, it can be traced back to its. They reflect the soul of samurai who wielded sword. They refer to the unique curve of the rod. So the problem, the like D is mentioned. Sorry, C is mentioned in the passage, but they are asking us the structural signature. What can be inferred from the structural signature? From the structural, they imply the particular characteristics of blade created. So structural signature means the structure of the signature which is characteristic of the smith's process. So option number B is correct. Now there's another paragraph. Read it. In the early years of television, Vladimir Zworykin was considered the device's inventor, at least publicly. His loudest champion was his boss, David Sarnoff, the president of RCA and the father of television, as he was and is widely regarded. Modern historians agree that Philo Farnsworth, a self-educated prodigy who was the first to transmit live images, was television's technical inventor. But Farnsworth's contribution have gone relatively unnoticed, since it was Chernoff, not Farnsworth, who put television into living rooms. Most importantly, it was Chernoff who succeeded borrowed from the radio industry the paradigm of advertiser-funded programming, a paradigm still dominant today. In contrast, Farnsworth lacked business savvy and was unable to realize his dreams of television as an educator too. Perhaps Chernoff simply adapted his business ideas from other industries such as newspaper basing revenue subscriptions and newsstand purchases with that of television set sales. But Chernoff promoted himself as a visionary. Some critics argue that Chernoff's construct has damaged the programming content. Others contend that it merely created a democratic platform allowing audiences to choose programming they desire. So again, the first question mostly is the primary purpose of this passage. So we need to read all the options. Correct public misconception about Farnsworth's role in developing program. Debate the influence of television on popular culture. So this is not mentioned. Challenge the current public perception. There's no challenge here. Chronicle the event that led to the development of radio to the invention. No, this is not there. Describe and debate Chernoff's influence on the public perception. So there it was about the influence Chernoff had. So the option number E is correct. It can be inferred from the second paragraph of the passage that the television shows produced by Chernoff and Waldemar tended to earn negative reviews. There was no mention of reviews, so educational programs cannot draw a large audience as sports, and it wasn't there. So a number of critics feel that Chernoff's initial decision to earn television revenue through advertising has had a positive or neutral impact on content. So this is this was what the passage was about the revenue through advertising. Well, let's read all other options. Educational programs that are aired in prime time, the hours during which the greatest number of viewers are watching television, are less likely to earn a profit than those aired during the daytime hours. This wasn't there. In matter of programming, the audience preference should be more influential than those of the advertising. So the option number C, a number of people feel that initial decision is the correct option. Then according to the passage, the television industry earned the revenue from advertising only, advertising in the sales of television sets, advertising and subscription and sale of television sets, advertising. So which of the options, so there were multiple options, which of the options, so revenue of the television industry was from advertising and the sales of television sets. Then the last question, select the sentence that provide factual evidence. So this would also be one of the questions in which you would have to select one of the sentences to the correct to this statement. So we've covered the passage. So the way to read the passage is you read the initial pass, first read the first question, and then you start reading the passage initially slowly to find the tone, the main idea, the primary purpose of the passage, and then you speed up. And as you come across a detail, you try to read it very quickly. So next is text completion. So it's like fill in the blanks. So this tests your vocabulary. So text completion might have 1 to 3 blanks, and there's no partial credit. So if it has 3 blanks and you get only 1 right, then you won't get the marks for that question. So So it can have 1 to 3 blanks, 3 answer choices per blank. So after answer to 3 different choices working independently that you have to choose for each blank answer independently. There's no partial credit. So tips for answering: read through the passage to get an overall sense of it. Similar to the passage reading, you just need to get the overall sense. So identify the words or phrases that might seem significant. So try to fill in the blank with words that seem to be complete the sentence. Do not assume that the first blank is the one that should be filled first. So if it's a long, it has two sentences, try to substitute the easy word first. First check each word individually in the sentence, and then after you find the best match individually, read the passage collectively to get the overall sense of it. So first example for it: just as different people can have very different personalities, so too can pets. Even those of the same species are breed, process, varied. So can have different personalities. So we need to find a word which is similar to personalities. So the first blank, first of initiation to start, implementation to aptitude, rationalization, temperament. So temperament is something which is the natural, temperament is the closest to the personality. So temperament is the correct option. So find the clue. So we first found the clue in which we found the personality. And then we thought of a word which was similar to it, and then we found it. So try to find the clue for this. Not known as administrative professional day secretaries. Day was created in 1952 by Harry F. Clemfus, a public relation profession who dashed the value and significance of administrative assistants in order to attract more women to them. So what from the tone of this, it looks like Mr. Harry F. Clemfus wanted to encourage the role of professionals. So there would in the blank there should be a positive word. So find the tone. Is it positive? Is it negative? Or it might be changing from positive to negative or negative to positive. Just try to find the tone of this. So wind chill warning is issued when the temperature is projected to reach minus 25 degree Fahrenheit or lower, the point at which the cold has dash effects. So it wind chill warning. So wind chill warning would be for a negative, for something that can happen which is bad. So a negative word would come over here. So trigger words. These words indicate whether the blank should follow the clue or should go in the opposite direction. So be wary of it, that if a tone changes from positive to negative or negative to positive, so the blank might be the opposite of what the sentence had started if it has a trigger word. So for sentences having 2 or 3 blanks, complete the blanks one by one. Pick up the easier one first. Find the clue, look for trigger words, come up with a word, use a POE, and then select the best choices of each blank. Look if the blank complements each other or go in the opposite direction. So next, the journalist dash in his pursuit of the scandal he suspected, despite a lack of support from his editors, he was determined to investigate day and night, follow every lead and ride down dawn until the dawn to get the first story and finally the news. The journalist was dash in his pursuit. He's very passionate about this. So decorous digressive, or was it indefatigable? So, and finally dash, to scoop, forestall, or depreciate. So the meaning of forestall is to prevent. Depreciate is also a negative word. So scoop for the second blank, and for the first, the journal was very decorous, indefatigable, that he was not tiring. So option number, indefatigable, is the correct option. Although the stress tests given to European banks are supposed to reassure dash investors by distinguishing the reliable financials from more. The lack of candor from those reporting has made the test results dash. So the lack of candor from the supporting has made them, so for the third blank, the suspect has made the thing a suspect, and all the stress are supposed to reassure dash invest. So you reassure somebody whose confidence is less. So timorous seems to be the best option. The meaning of prolix is too many words, and cantankerous is bad tempered. So timorous is person who has having less confidence. So C, and for the option number 3, the option number B. And the lack of invested by distinguishing the reliable financial institution from more dash ones. So precarious, distinguishing reliable from the, so precarious means uncertain. So opposite of precarious, the opposite of reliable is uncertain. So that is precarious, option number C. So in this, there were few hints like reliable, reassure, and candor help us to find the fill in the blanks. The tips for it are: read the sentence to get an overall sense of it. Identify words which are particularly significant. Try to fill in the blank with a word that seems to be appropriate to you. So first, individually fill in the blanks, and then read the whole sentence to make sense whether it seems right as a whole. Now coming to the last section or last set of questions that come is sentence equivalence, in which you have to find two answer choices that, when used to complete the sentence, fit the meaning of the sentence as a whole, and produce completed sentences that are similar in meaning. So you need to find two words. So this, again, sentence equivalence, like sentence completion, is a direct test of your vocabulary. So the cohesion of Alexander the Great vast empire was dash at his death. Alexander's land was divided amongst his general. So name the generals. So both the two words that we need to locate are both they are both negatives or weaker words. So abiding, following, no. So precarious and tenuous are the two words which show that Alexander's great vast empire was in trouble after his death. So now I recommended that you use WordSmart, and in WordSmart they have given the Greek roots of different words which help you locate what the word is. So roots help us to identify. So if you memorize these roots, the first, Messian, to hate, anthropos, mankind, gyne, woman, gammas, marriage, monos, one. So this, by measuring, by remembering these roots, it will help you finding that words. So misanthrope would be person who hates mankind. Misogynist, one who hates women. So this would help you roots. So use word smart, you make flashcards. Those are very important. So what if you have not seen a word before? The roots would help you identify those words. The tone of the sentence would help you find that word. Despite their output negativity, many cynics harbor an inner faith in dash of mankind. So despite their output, many cynics harbor an inner, so it has a twist, as a trigger word, despite the word's negativity, then we need to have a positive word in the blank. So the two positive words from this are benevolence and probity. So benevolence is kindness and probity is strong moral principle. Precocity means before something. That we can get from the word pre. So the full definition of it is precocity is that a skill acquired earlier. Parsimony is to act stingy. Stingy. Ignobility is again a negative word, and antipathy is again a negative word. So we were looking for positive words to fill in the blank. So next, although it does contain some pioneering ideas, one would hardly characterize the work as, although it says although at the start. So although is a trigger word. So pioneering ideas, one would, so opposite of pioneer we need to find. So orthodox, eccentric, original, trifling, conventional, innovative. So one would hardly characterize the word. So although it contains pioneering ideas, one would hardly characterize. So hardly characterize it as original or innovative. So although there was a trigger word, but one would hardly characterize. So there is another, one would hardly characterize. So we need to find similar words with meaning of pioneer. So original and innovative are the two things. His wife's icy stare and aloof demeanor told Johann unequivocally that his proprietary gifts had failed to pacify. So one way, before you answer a question, you think of a blank which had failed to pacify her anger. So you need to find words similar to pacify. So meaning of placate and appease is similar to pacify. By consuming dash number of power bars, some athletes believe they will proportionally greater amounts of endurance strength because of their energy producing ingredients, claim to claim. By consuming large number of, so large, we need to find a word which is similar to large. So copious means plentiful, and profuse also means plentiful. So copious and profuse are the correct options. So now, what to do next once you reach this? So make an ETS account, do the one free power prep test that you have on ETS website, know your score, write down your score. And also write down which component did you found the most difficult. Was it the comprehension, or was it sentence completion or equivalence? There was a very good verbal workshop by Fulbright alumnus Heather Shishmael. Go over that, learn more tricks, learn more ways of how to make use of this time. So I would advise make 30 flashcards per day. So having 30 per day is a very good number. So If you be consistent, you'll be able, in 2 months, you'll be close to 1400 words. And make those flashcards, because writing them down and make them in a certain form that you can go over them regularly would help you in remembering them. So remember, get yourself a chart paper, cut those pages, write them down, and sort those flashcards into 3 sets. One set should be the set of cards which you think you know you're fully confident. One you can partly confident, in which you think that you might know the meaning, and third that you're sure that you don't know. So hopefully over the period of time, those flashcards, this sorting would be more towards the thing that you know. And remember, you have to absorb what you read. For that, you will have to spend time in learning every word. Make a sentence of your own. So once you would read WordSmart, you would read a sentence. You'll be tempted to write the same sentence on the flashcard. Make your own sentence. Make a meaningful sentence which would elaborate the meaning of that word. To use it. So complete 1 test per day from Big Book. Maybe it's too ambitious. I mean, for the both verbal and math section, it would help you both. But if you can't complete 1 complete test, have it, do the half of it, and spend time in rechecking it. Find your weaknesses. The most important thing is to analyze your weaknesses and then work for it. And once you have narrowed down your weaknesses and you need more practice, you can practice passages from the Big Book as well as from Manhattan, in which you'll be focused on one component aspect. So if you have less time, so then do practice from the ETS official books, which are there, which I mentioned earlier. With that, I would like to thank you all. I hope you were able to learn something, and I hope it will help you in improving your scores. So remember that only sustained effort would help you, especially in this verbal section, because sustained effort, your vocabulary would build very, very slowly. So you need to keep on going. You need to put in the 2 months or 3 months you have for it, and you need to build your vocabulary. Vocabulary is the most important thing. In this thing. So I'll take few questions. So how important is the GRE? The GRE is very important. It is, apart from your GPA, it is the most important thing which quantifies your progress. So this gives you a number. It has a number which the reviewers can see that you performed, how you performed compared to others. So take it very seriously. You can improve it in the time you have. So work for it. What is the realistic improvement that one can have over time? So practically speaking, if you put in the effort, you can boost your score by +4 in a month, and +4 in a month's time really changes your percentile. So +4, +6, work for it, and it will help you now, and it will help you later. What books to practice the comprehension passages? Use Big Book, use Manhattan. They have a lot of practice. So with that, I would like to thank you all. I hope you found this workshop useful. You can check out USEFP's Facebook page, Twitter, YouTube pages to see more of the workshops that are coming. That I would like to thank you all. Take care.